Okay, the first order of business is we need to remove that camshaft or the idler pulley there. So I am going to use my air ratchet to speed this up. I already broke it loose. I'm using a 14 deep well socket. Okay, got that off of there. We're going to spin it and listen. Yeah, I'm hearing just a little bit of gravel. We're going to definitely want to save that bolt out of there. I'm just going to leave the bolt in there for right now, and put it. I want to put it with the idler and the tensioner. All right. So like I said, that was a 14 millimeter head. All right. So now to get this water pump out, it's a little bit tricky. This cover right here might not have to come completely off, but it does have to come loose. So because you have a 10 millimeter head bolt right here, a 10 here, and unfortunately this cover is just right over top. So we're going to remove our camshaft sprocket, and there's probably a few different ways you could do this. You could get creative. I'm probably going to remove the valve cover gasket just because I plan on doing valve cover gaskets on this anyways. But if you wanted to put a strap wrench on here and strap it and then pop that bolt off, you could do that. When you remove the valve cover, like I'm going to show you here in a little bit, there on the camshaft, there should be a spot to hold it with a wrench, and then you can pop it off that way. But yeah, I'm going to remove the valve cover just because I have to do that anyways. But you could bypass these next couple steps, and you could just put a strap wrench on there and be real careful and hold it. All right. So we already have the antifreeze drained. So now I need some kind of pair of pliers to remove this upper radiator hose, or some people call it radiator. But here we go. Gotta break it loose a little bit. Just slide it on back. And now we can twist it, maybe. It's been on there for probably 20 years. I'm going to try to take this little tool right here and just kind of go, not poke it, but just go around the lip of it to break that seal. We'll check the condition of this hose too. But all I'm doing is just trying to break that seal so we can twist it. Okay. See if a regular pair of slip joint pliers will work. Almost. Might need to grab a pair of channel locks here and gently, because you don't want to rip this. There we go. Take that, put it out of the way. Now we grab our slip joint pliers and we take in, move back forth a little bit for the overflow. Put that over here, just tuck them out of the way. All right. Now, if you look right here, these are your coil packs. So I would say if you have a check engine light and it's flashing and you pull a code and it's a misfire code, I would say 80% of the time is because of one of these gone bad. Now, some of these are like $80 a piece, like this one. So it can get pretty expensive if you want to replace all of them. Coil packs are almost kind of like shoes. The left one is going to wear out about the same time as the right one, right? Well, don't be surprised if you have a check engine light for a cylinder misfire and you replace it on this cylinder, and then 2 weeks or a month or 2 months later you get another misfire and it's on another cylinder. Okay, don't be surprised, because all these are going to wear out probably about the same time. When we are doing this job, we're actually going to replace all 3 of them in the back with brand new ones. The reason I'm doing that is because it is very hard to get to those 3 in the back. As a matter of fact, I was able to get to cylinder number 5 back here in the back on the side of the road for him a couple months ago, about a month ago. It took me about an hour and a half, and it was a real pain in the butt to do. So we were going to replace the other 2, and of course we'll replace the spark plugs and valve cover gasket in there too. And we might just leave the front 3 alone because they're so easy to replace. So if they do go bad, I can replace them no problem. So, all right, let's get these coil packs out. 10 millimeter. Okay. I'm going to take these and find my little tray here. And we're going to put my tray right here for right now, maybe. Okay, and now you just kind of wiggle them back and forth a little bit. We'll take and you push this right here down, this clip. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but I pushed right here, pulled that off, pull that one off. Careful, these are old. Okay. If you ever pull one of these out, and I'm going to put them in order so that way they go back in the same order they came out of. So I might want to mark them real quick. I'm just going to mark them. I'm not sure. I'll just mark it like this. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put it back the way it came in, because if it came in running like that, it should leave like that. So I just put them 1, 2, and 3 as far as 1, 2, and 3. I'm not sure that's exactly the cylinders. I know that's cylinder number 5 in the back. Anyways, so I marked them. I'm going to go put these aside. Okay. If you ever pull one of those coil packs out and it's covered in engine oil, that means that the seal right here inside the valve cover has failed, and you just basically replace the whole seal in the valve cover. All right, the next thing I'm going to take off is this wiring harness loom here, and it looks like it's got some inverted torques again, so that's great. I wonder if there's any chance of it being the same size. Probably not. Nope, I thought that was too big. So we need to find a I want to say it's probably an E6. E6 it is. So you are going to need a inverted E6. I'm going to put this on a 3/8, and this is a quarter drive socket. I'm going to put this on a 3/8 to a quarter. So now I'm taking my 3/8 impact gun. I got a 3/8 to quarter adapter. Okay. They look like that. Put them in with the coil pack bolts. All right, got that one loose. Now I need to take this hose off. So pair of pliers. This right here goes to the air cleaner assembly. Okay. You know, and on these 20-some-year-old vehicles, guys, don't be surprised if this hose is rotten and it breaks in your hand. And then, you know, you just have to explain to the customer, hey, look, you have an old vehicle. Things like this are going to happen. Matter of fact, I don't know if you can see, I'll see if I can zoom in later. That's what happened to this hose right here when I was working on the side of the road. The end of it split, so I just had to cut it and then kind of re-put it on there. And I mean, it's just brittle as all get out, so I might have to end up replacing it. All right, I had to remove this wiring harness so I could get to the bolts that hold down the valve cover. All right, the bolts that hold down the valve cover are 10 millimeters. So I am going to get probably my deep well 10. I don't need that long of an extension, but I do want at least, I would say, a 6-inch, but maybe I'll get a 6-inch 3/8 extension, and I got my 10 millimeter. Yeah, these things, this one's loose. Didn't even, shoot, you might be able to help stop this oil leak just by tightening these things down a little bit. Yeah, see, that one's loose too. It didn't give any resistance. Yeah, no wonder why this thing's leaking engine oil. Sometimes you can go through, if something like this is leaking engine oil, you can go through and tighten them down, and they might stop leaking for a little bit. And I just said the word, the magic word in there is might stop leaking. I know some of those Nissan 3.3s, I've gone through and just tightened up the valve covers on those, and that would cure probably 70% of the oil leak for a customer. And it didn't really cost them any money. And they were always happy about that. All right. So I got all those out. Now we got to get this off of here, which is always fun because you don't want to obviously break anything. This is all just cast aluminum. I'm going to mess around with this for a few minutes, and I'll tell you how I did it when we come back. Okay, it actually came off a lot easier than I thought. I took my flathead screwdriver and I carefully, I just kind of put it right here and just popped it up. I came back here and popped it up. I mean, and it popped up real easy. Just be careful though, okay? This is just aluminum. All right. So here is the valve cover gasket. We're going to need to wash this thing up. Here's those little gaskets I was talking about. That if you have engine oil down in your spark plug hole, these would need to be replaced. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you replace just a valve cover gasket and not these, you're in for a hurting. So we need to replace those as well, okay? Do not cheap out on this. Don't go cheap. All right, we're going to put this over here because we need to wash it up in the parts washer. All right, so this engine's got 205,000 miles, and look how clean that is. I'm impressed. The person who owns this, they change the oil pretty regular, and I was kind of half expecting to see some sludge or something like that, but man, it looks good, especially with only with 200-some thousand miles on it, so that's good. All right, now this camshaft, and I'm gonna zoom in here in a minute. It's got a spot for a wrench to hold here. I have to figure out what size wrench that is, probably a 19. And we're gonna put that on there to buzz this off. So let me find that wrench, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, so I want to go remove this bolt, but I'll show you how I had to do it. It was on there super tight. I actually had to grab a wrench that I haven't had to use a whole lot, and that's a 23 millimeter, and I had to put it right here on this camshaft, and that's what held the camshaft right there. I then grabbed a 17 deep well half drive socket. You see how long this ratchet is. I also had to grab a cheater pipe, which I don't use unless it's an emergency, and I put it on the end of my wrench. I just had to go like that number, and man, it was on there tight. So now I'm taking this bolt out, and I don't have to worry about variable valve timing or nothing like that with this vehicle. So I'll put this over here out of the way with my coil packs, and I'm going to work on what I'm working on trying to do is getting this shield off. If I wanted to, I could just take these tins right here off, and I could probably get that water pump out of there. But since I'm replacing the cam seals on this job, I might as well go ahead and get the rest of it off. So we're going to start next with taking the air cleaner assembly out. We're going to take the upper intake off, and then get the spark plugs and coil packs off the back, get the valve cover off the back side. We'll get that camshaft sprocket out of the way, and then we'll get this piece off. We'll replace our cam seals, then the water pump, and then probably start putting everything back together, and away we go. It should be fun. I know it's a long video, but A lot of information in this video if you guys have one of these vehicles, man. So we'll come back here in just a little bit. Alrighty. So got my 10 millimeter, got my impact gun. This right here is where your fresh air comes into for your air cleaner assembly. Got that? I'm going to set it over here. I'm going to leave the bolts with it. Like I said, I'm just making a big long line of everything I take off. Just keep it all in line. All right. Now I'm going to work on the air cleaner assembly. We're going to take the upper half off. So you got to take that bolt loose, and I think the bolt's missing the backside, which it is. Your mass airflow sensor, you have to press on the clip. So right here's your mass air. Press on that clip. I'm going to have to take this line off, and then I got to take that hose clamp loose. Got to take, I'm taking that hose off, that hose off, and that hose off. If you want to, before you take them off, it wouldn't be a bad idea to mark those if you need to. I don't need to. I remember where they go. So get that hose off. And now get the tin. Okay. And now the air filter assembly, I think, is ready to pop off of there. Okay, that's the top half. Now I grab the air filter too. And again, I'm just going to take it over here, throw it on the floor, or gently place it on the floor, not throw it. And then the next thing I'm going to do, let's see here. The next thing I'm going to do is probably wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of stop and maybe take a picture of things just so that way you know how it goes back. Okay, one of the things I did real quick was I did stop and just take a quick picture or two just to make sure I remember. Another thing you'll see, I put a t-shirt over top of that where the valve cover was for two reasons. Well, for mainly one reason is just make sure stuff doesn't drop down inside there. If you notice, there's some leaves and stuff down in here, but also, you know, if you drop little nuts or bolts, you don't want them to get inside of your engine, obviously. So I took this little nut off here and the little nut off right here. Got them right here by hand. I'm gonna go put these in the tray here, and then I'm gonna remove this little evap assembly. See if I can just put it out of the way. Let's see here. I'll take the hose off from here. And like I said, if you want to, you can mark that hose with some white out and put a white dot there. Or if you have fingernail polish of different color, stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to unplug it from the fuel rail assembly. Things are really hard to unplug. Might have to get a pair of pliers. We're going to have to figure out how to get that one off of there. And we'll unhook it from here, from the throttle body. Okay. Yep, now I just need to get this one off here. So let's see if I can figure that out real quick. Let's see here. Come on. Trying to be really careful because this, you know, it's a 20-year-old vehicle. I do not want to break this. All right, good. Got that part. Now, trying to get it loose from the underside here. And it can be difficult. There we go. All right. So I'm going to take that whole assembly and the other part hooks onto the intake here. All right. Whew. Got the whole evap assembly. I'm going to go put that over here in line with everything else. And now I'm going to work on getting this upper intake off. You got, let's say, probably a 14 here, and you got some Allen heads here. But the bad thing is, on the back side of this thing, back here, you got a couple brackets. So we need to get those brackets off, and that's what we'll concentrate on next, I think. And I also got a couple of tubes, which some of them will probably have coolant in them. And you got the wiring harness for the throttle body here. Took that off just now. You also have your brake booster hose, which is that hose right there. We're going to disconnect that because it goes to your brake booster. We got those lines you got to take off. Those bolts right there. And like I said, there's a couple of brackets on the back side. I want to say they're either 12 or 14 millimeter. And they're going to take me a while to get loose. And they are a pain in the butt. All right. Let me get some stuff done and I'll show you what I did. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to get this upper intake off. And I am going to try something that I've never tried before. We'll see if it works out. You got to use a word of caution here. See this dirt and stuff right here? Yeah, you don't want that falling down your engine, so we got to be super careful. All right, you got some Allen heads right here. I believe the size is 8 millimeters, so you're going to need to get yourself an 8 millimeter. I like the socket type. And then I want to get me a impact gun here and an extension. Looks like I'm using about a 6-inch extension. See how well this works. Might have to go with the 3-inch because of the glass. I don't know. Got that one. That one. Not on it. Make sure you get on it. Don't want to strip it. To find another extension, maybe like a 1-inch or 2-inch extension. Try this little guy out here. You can use a ratchet too. You don't need to use a power tool. I'm just trying to do this for the quickness of it. And he's stuck in there. Get my ratchet out, see if I can break him loose. So, one of the things, kind of gripes I have about this, probably one of the hardest things about this whole job, is on the back side of here, on the back side of this thing, we have 3 braces. We have one here, one there, and one over here. Now this one is off because when I replaced that coil pack on the side of the road at 10:30 at night, I did not feel like putting it back on. But my complaint is, why does this car need 3 braces in the back? It makes no sense to me. It doesn't require that much. Like, it's not like this thing's making, 1,000 horsepower or anything like that, or 800 foot-pounds of torque or nothing like that. So, like, why do you need 3 braces? The worst one is this one over here, because you have the power steering line wrapped up and around it, and it makes for an awful time trying to get it out. So what I did was I lifted it up, the vehicle up in the air, and I went in from the backside and took the bolt loose from the brace, from the bolts that hold it to the engine. So I want to see if that works or not. I used to, years ago, just reach back around here and fight it and fight it and fight it and finally get them. But, so I'm going to try something different here. See if I got a better solution this time. If it works good, I'll show you exactly what I did so you guys can do it. Okay, I used my 14 millimeter socket, got those nuts off, got these 3 Allen heads, and then you have this bracket right here will come off. So you can take this whole assembly, and I'm going to, again, just put it in line. Put it on the floor and put it in line. It's nice to keep everything organized. All right. So now, yeah, I ought to be feeling pretty loose. All right. Let me get my needle nose pliers, and I'm going to take this. Actually, I might end up using my slip joint pliers. Let me see if that'll work better. Or maybe my duck bills right here. I call these my duck bill needle nose. I like to use these a lot of times. Come on. Try not to hit the camera. Gotta squeeze all 3 tabs. All right. Now I gotta just kind of turn it like this. See if I can get it to turn to break the seal free. Like I said, it's probably been on there for at least 100,000 anyways. I don't think, I know this thing hasn't been serviced in the last 100,000 since the timing belt was done at 90,000. So yeah, here we go. All right, I put that one aside. I got one more down right there, so I'm going to get that off. So I just got the upper intake off. Some people called it a plenum. You know, I try not to curse on this channel. I try to keep it nice, professional, so we can use it for learning purposes for all ages. I did not want to film myself. I may have said a few choice words on this one, and I always do. This is the hardest part, I think, about this whole timing cover, 60,000 mile, 100,000 mile tune-up, whatever you want to call it. Whenever you have to replace the spark plugs and the coil packs, or do cam seals and all that stuff that I'm doing, taking this upper intake off is a pain in the butt. I was saying earlier, this thing has 3 brackets in the back. I don't know why it needs 3. 1 should be enough. They did 3. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the back side of this upper intake or plenum is right here. So it goes on here like this. So I got it turned around. The first one, bracket, connects to here, which if you look, it's this guy right here. This bolt bolts into the back of here. But Toyota decided, in their infinite wisdom, that they're going to put this power steering line right here. They're going to put that over top of the bolt, and you can't get to it because the way they have it mounted on there. So what you have to do is you got to get that 10 millimeter head nut off of there. All right, not a big deal, right? Well, it is a big deal because this is so close to the firewall, you can't hardly get a ratchet and socket in. Well, you can use a wrench. Well, you can't because they have all these different things blocking your wrenches from getting in there. So I'll show you what I did. I took a cheap socket. Every automotive tech should have some cheap sockets and some expensive sockets. Here's my Matco socket, 10 millimeter quarter drive. Pretty nice, expensive socket. It's a good socket. I took my El Cheapo Deluxe, went to the grinder. Look how much shorter I made it. See that? I made it shorter so that way I would have just enough clearance to put on my ratchet to reach in there and get that 10 millimeter nut off. I'm going to tell you to get these bolts off and these nuts off, you're going to want a quarter drive flex head ratchet, and you're probably going to want a fine tooth one. So after I got that 10 millimeter nut off for the power steering line where I could access the bolt back to the back of here, I needed to get a 14 millimeter socket. So I got my 14 in there, and I had to fight a little bit. Got that bolt off. Okay, now we're going to go into this one right here. This one right here, you would think it'd be another 14 nut. Nope, it's a 12. So now you got to change sockets. And now you got to get this one off. And that one would be sticking up, but it actually fell down. So this part of the job is probably the worst in the whole thing. Like every time I go to do one of these, I always think, man, I got to deal with that upper intake. We're going to end up cleaning this one up in the parts washer. It's got gaskets too. We got to replace that as well. So you are going to need to learn patience when getting that upper intake off. Sorry I didn't have a video showing me actually removing it. Even if I did have a video, you wouldn't be able to see anything because all the work is being done on the firewall side. You're basically using your fingers as your eyeballs, and you're breaking them. You're breaking all the nuts and bolts loose with your ratchet, and then going back in there with your fingers and twisting them out. All right. Another thing we're going to do that I didn't mention was we're also going to replace the PCV valve. It's right there. Be dumb not to. I think I might try to take the vacuum and vacuum some of the stuff away real quick, clean it up so nothing falls in the engine, and then we're going to work on getting that rear valve cover gasket off and getting that rear camshaft sprocket off so we can get to the cam seal. All right. Let me get the cleaning. I'll be back in a minute.